Alright, what's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Tank Tuesday. Today we're going to talk about how I kind of intentionally and yet kind of accidentally set up this aquarium to get my least killifish and also bluefin killifish reproducing. So I want to kind of break this one video up into three sections. The first section is now, where I'm just going to kind of talk in general about what I did to this aquarium to make the conditions, I guess, better for these fish to reproduce. And then I'll go in depth in the next section about the least killifish that are reproducing in here. And then finally the third section about the bluefin killifish that are reproducing in here. So number one, this tank, it is 10 gallons. Everything in here is native to Florida, at least all the livestock, so the plants and the fishes. So as you can see, it is what I would consider like a moderate to heavy planting. There's a lot of live plants in there. I've gone over all the plants in detail in some of my other videos. All I want to talk about now is that the plants in the background have really grown in over the last several months. The pearlweed over on the left is really thick. You can't see through it at all. The bog moss on the right, it's got some gaps in it, but you still can't really see the back of the aquarium except in like a few of the openings. And both of those things, I think, have really contributed to the adults reproducing, and then also for the juveniles, the fry, to actually be able to survive long enough to become, well, they're not adults yet, but to become, to get on their way to become adults. So what I mean by that is, number one, before these plants grew in, the least killifish were reproducing, but their fry were getting eaten by the bluefin killifish. So they really weren't surviving the first couple months. Ever since the plants grew in, though, they have been surviving at much higher rates, so that is awesome. And as far as the bluefin killifish, though, I didn't see them lay any eggs for the first several months, and then once the plants got to grow in a little bit fuller, I saw them starting to lay eggs. And I'll talk more about the eggs once we get into like the bluefin killifish section of this video. And then the second thing that I think really contributed to both of these species reproducing is my feeding. So I think the plants definitely helped in the fry survival, but the feeding really helped the adults, I guess, start reproducing more, or start reproducing at all, if we're going to talk about the bluefin killifish, because they really just started reproducing after I started feeding a lot of like really healthy food, healthy frozen foods. For the first couple months, I either fed like these little, I guess like a meal or a grind, little micro pellets, and they were both eating it great. And then I'd give them some freeze-dried tubifex worms as well, and that sustained them. They're still alive. But a few months ago, I started really feeding them several times a week, maybe like five, I don't know about five, but maybe like 3, 4, maybe 5 days a week. I would still feed them micro pellet as like an appetizer when I get home from work, and then a few hours later, toward like, well, almost my bedtime, I would feed them either frozen bloodworms or frozen brine shrimp. And I think the feeding the extra nutrients in those foods really helped the bluefin killifish reproduce, and maybe the least killifish reproduce in larger numbers. So I think those are the two main things. Number one, the heavy plant really helped the adults, I guess, want to reproduce, because I guess this is all just my hypothesis. It helped them want to reproduce because they knew that their fry could then survive. If there was like no plants at all, I don't think they would want to reproduce at all. And I think not the live foods, but the healthy frozen foods really gave them the nutrients that they needed. So I think those two things in combination really helped both of these species start reproducing, and it helped the fry out to survive a little bit here. So that's kind of the overview of the aquarium, and now let's go into the details of each individual species, starting with the least killifish. All right, so almost immediately after I added the least killifish to the aquarium, I started seeing fry, which was really interesting because all eight of the uh, killifish that I put in here were all females. But being live bearers, they are very easy to get pregnant and they give birth to a lot of young. So I'm sure they came in already pregnant and then they started having babies. So the first couple that I saw, the first several weeks, very quickly got eaten by the bluefin killifish. But as you can see, some of these pictures over the next couple months, some of them ended up making it to a little bit of a larger size, and honestly, I'd even consider some of them to be adults now. Um, what really helped, I think, is the plants growing in, especially the plants toward the top of the aquarium. I noticed the least killifish, especially the younger they are, they like to hang out toward the top of the aquarium. And what is really cool is that some of the least killifish babies, they got to be a large enough size now where I could tell if they're males or females, and I do have at least two males that are making it to, I guess you could say, adulthood. They're not quite adults yet, they're still fairly small, but you could see that longer anal fin on them, which means that they're males. The smaller rounded ones is how you can tell that they're females. So I don't actually know exactly how many least killifish babies I have in here. I'm sure that number fluctuates because some of the females, I'm sure, are giving birth a couple times a week, and then they're getting snacked on by the bluefin killifish. But at least some of them are making it to adulthood. My largest count has been five, so I don't know if it was five or if there was more that I missed, because I mean, it is pretty heavily planted, and some of the least killifish babies I'm sure I wasn't able to count. But that's the most I have been able to count, five. So that's what I'm thinking are in here, but I'm sure there's more and more being born on a pretty regular basis. So here's a picture of like one of the bigger males. This is one of the males that I kind of first noticed. So he's probably a solid 4, maybe 5 months old now at this point, and he's been doing really well. And I would love for me to get more males so they can keep reproducing. With the bluefin killifish, it was a little different because they lay eggs. They're not live bearers, and they're a little bit harder to get to reproduce, at least from my research. So I was really excited when I saw my first egg in there. Wasn't sure what it was, but then several days later, I saw these really small, elongated fish. They looked different than the least killifish fry that I had been seeing, so I was pretty confident, but not positive, that they were bluefin killifish. They just were a little bit more elongated and had a like more clear color and also a more well-defined horizontal stripe on them, like the adult bluefin killifish have. And it's been really cool to see those guys kind of grow and develop. They actually grow a lot faster than the least killifish do, which I guess is to be expected because they have to grow to a larger overall size as adults. And for a long time, I thought I only had one bluefin killifish fry in here, but then just one day I ended up seeing two of them together. So there are two fry in here at least. There might be more. I don't think there's more because these guys I think I would have seen. But I am really happy that they ended up surviving. At least two of them did. I did see more than two eggs over the last several months. I've seen 5 or 6 of them, um, but I don't really know what happened to them. I've read that sometimes the adults can eat the eggs, but either way, I'm happy with two of them, and hopefully over the next year or so, maybe they can reproduce and I could get a few more babies because their lifespan as adults is only, I think, like 2 or 3 years. So if I got them as already adults, they might have been a year old at that point. So I don't know how much more time the adults have, but as you can see, the fry are growing in nicely. They're growing in fast, and they're actually looking and behaving more and more like the adult bluefin killifish. All right, so that's going to do it. Like I said, I kind of hope that these species would reproduce in here, and I kind of set up an environment that would be conducive to that. It definitely help them, but I never really specifically set out to get these species to reproduce. So this was a little bit of luck, but also I kind of made my own luck by creating a habitat for them that not only would make them want to reproduce, but also kind of allowed their fry to grow up and actually survive and not just either die instantly or get eaten and whatnot. So yeah, let me know if you have any questions. Hope you guys like this video, and I'll see you guys next time.